Nithyanandam. Welcome to my channel. So today I want to talk about responsibility and one of Swamiji's teachings that I never really understood when he talked about responsibility. And he always talked about how people have a fear of responsibility, and I was one of them. So that's probably why I didn't like hearing what he had to say, because I knew that it was me. But he would say, like, I mean, my interpretation of what he would talk about responsibility is that life rewards people who are responsible. It rewards people who take responsibility for themselves and responsibility for others, ultimately. So I was never one of those people. I was always afraid of responsibility. And it was not until I started to own my own business and be my own boss, and then I started to see the results of what it's like to take responsibility up for not only but yourself, but for others. So I lived a life of complete, blatant, just not being responsible for anyone, not even myself. Basically just drinking and using and trying to fulfill my needs each day, doing what I had to do to get what I needed to get, and not worrying about anyone else, not caring who it hurt or who I could help. Like, I never thought of others. It was always just me, 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 me. So I had this pattern of not taking responsibility and thinking that responsibility is going to bind me. And just recently I saw this mirrored to me, and a friend of mine who was always really big on, no, I don't want any responsibility. No, I don't want to have any responsibility. And he doesn't want responsibility because he thinks that that is going to bind him and that he's not going to be able to do what he wants. And I was just like, as he was talking, I just had this epiphany. I'm like looking at him like, oh my God, he thinks that by taking responsibility for someone else other than himself, that he's going to be binded and he's not going to be able to do what he's going to do. And it just clicked in me, and I went, oh my God, that is not how it is. Responsibility leads to freedom. At least that is my direct experience. For many, many years I worked in restaurants and I worked for other people. And the mentality in a work environment, at least in the restaurants that I worked in, is to do as little as possible to get by, and to really, like, basically, since you're making an hourly wage, you don't want to work too fast, because if you work too fast, then your hours will get cut. So basically, you just want to do what you can to get by, and if something goes wrong, you blame someone else. It's always someone else's fault. So no one takes responsibility for anything, and it makes for a very harsh and not unpleasant work environment, because you've got everybody trying to cut corners and manipulate and blame, and it just becomes chaos, and I hated it. And now that I work for myself, I can set my day up how I want it to be set up, and I do not have to rely on someone else. And I always thought that being your own boss would be too stressful, because all that weight's going to be lying on you. Like, oh God, what if something goes wrong? Then who do you have to blame? You only have yourself to blame. And so I would push that responsibility away, because I didn't have faith in myself, and I didn't believe in myself, and I didn't trust myself to fulfill that. So I didn't want to be responsible for anything. So that was my belief about it. But once I actually started to do it, I saw the freedom that it gave me. I am a single mother, and my son is in school. And there's no way that I can work an 8-hour job and take him to school and pick him up, and all the days that they have early release, or that they have a holiday and he doesn't go to school, I don't have to worry. Like, I don't have to even sweat it. It's like I just rearrange my schedule, and I make it so that I still get the things that I need to get done, but I can also be there to pick him up. What a freedom. Like, oh my God. I'm so grateful for that, because I don't have to stress out. Like, I would have to work holidays, and I would either have to call off to take care of my son, or I would have to pay someone basically all of my wages to watch him. So I would work for free and then come home and give all that money that I made to somebody for taking care of my son, who's my responsibility. It just didn't make any sense. So now that I'm my own boss, I don't have to worry about that. So that is one way that taking responsibility has given me freedom. Another way is that I just feel like more fulfilled, because I know that by taking a stand and saying, no, I'm not going to contribute to this food industry that is putting toxins in people's food and feeding it to them, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to create a company that is going to do something good for people by taking that responsibility and investing in others' health as well as my own. The amount of fulfillment just went from like here to here, because I'm doing good for someone. I'm not just working an 8-hour job just trying to get by and trying not to get caught, you know, and work as little as possible. So the shift that's happened in my cognition from taking that responsibility is just huge. It's just immeasurable. And you know, I never would have experienced this had I not just taken that jump and trusted Swamiji's teachings, and knowing that my fear of responsibility is not, you know, I needed to just get through that and get to the other side. So yeah, if you're out there and you're thinking that responsibility is going to bind you and it's going to create less freedom for you, no, it's not true. It's not true. It's not in my experience. It is not true. I have time to surf. I have time for my son. I can plan my life, you know, and live how I want to live. So yeah, responsibility for me leads to freedom, not the other way around. So I challenge you and invite you to try this on your own. Try this teaching. Just take the responsibility for something and see how it changes you. Take it, you know, for someone else or for yourself, whatever it is. Just do it and you'll see how much you expand and grow. So thank you to Swamiji for showing me this teaching through, like, experientially in my life so that I can understand it, and also seeing it in someone else, ultimately seeing that him thinking that responsibility is going to bind him led me to understand how I thought the same thing also, that responsibility was binding, but it's not. So for me, responsibility equals freedom. So thank you so much for listening, and I will see you soon.